Hello and happy holidays, friends. This holiday season, Cassidy is most definitely alive. And this week, we're talking about what I'm up to this Christmas and my real feelings about the holidays. I also played Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Great fucking sequel to Blind Forest, but does it top Streets of Rage 4 as my game of the year? That's the question. We're also going to learn about Festivus, an alternative holiday for the rest of us. It was in Seinfeld, we've all seen it, but if you have not, we're going to learn all about it this week. Thumbs up for learning and thumbs up for Festivus. That's the end of the intro. Cue floating roads. See you in a moment.
We are king! The wisdom! The people of the people is as you never seen!
Ho, ho, ho. Hey, how you doing? How was your week? I'll tell you about my week. It was the epitome of fine. Nah, I actually had a great week, to be honest. But I'm going to save that for a little while later. As well as Ori, the second Ori game. Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Ori and the Will of the Wisps. That is a bitch to say. But I played it, the Ori sequel, and just, oh my god. Again, we're gonna save it for later, but just, fucking great. Moreover, friends, it is the most wonderful time of the year, or so I'm told. It is Christmas Day in Australia, and I assure you that it is indeed Christmas Day as I'm recording this. Like, it definitely is. But nonetheless, a happy holidays to you all. Whether you're spending it with friends, with family, alone, whatever, I really sincerely hope that whichever holiday it is that you observe, you have a great one and that you really enjoy it. I really do. And for the rest of us, a very, very happy Festivus. Belated. Yeah, Festivus was 2 days ago, so I hope that you had a great Festivus. And on the off chance that your Festivus is still ongoing, I do hope that you managed to pin your father. I believe in you. You can pin your daddy, and anybody that hears that without context is gonna be like, what the fuck is she talking about? Am I right? Well, lucky for you, I have put together a little educational piece about Festivus, and we're going to learn ourselves something this holiday season. But before we go through an alternative holiday, it is a real holiday, right? It is the real, authentic holiday season. Like I said, Christmas Day in Australia. And if you're interested enough to be listening to my shitty little soapbox here, then it stands to reason that you're also interested in how old Cassidy celebrates the season. And really, there's no better place to start than the current year, because it is the current year. So how am I celebrating, well, Christmas, I suppose, this year? I'm not really. I don't really celebrate Christmas. I don't really do much. It's just, I'm one of those, it's just another day kind of people. It's typically how I do celebrate Christmas, really. Just the absence thereof, right? It's just, like I said, it's another day. I don't really do much. I do, on Christmas, the 25th of December, what I would do any other day. It's not a very, very well hidden fact that I'm not religious, really. Well, Buddhist, but, you know, I'm not theistic. I don't really believe in these creation kind of. So there's not really anything for me to celebrate in that regard, and I don't really do the whole get together with family and do presents thing. Not anymore. We used to. So my history with Christmas, I guess, is what that brings me to. So my parents were split up. I don't really remember when they were together. I don't remember what Christmas was like then. I don't even remember my first. I can't even tell you what year the first Christmas memory I have is, but I did have two Christmases. In a way, three and then four, right? Because it'd be at home with my mom and stepdad, little brother. Then we would go to usually the stepdad's parents. Then up until my nan died, we'd go to her house for Christmas. That's three Christmases. Then from there, I would go to my dad's house and we'd have a big Christmas thing there. All the kids and uncles, aunts, all of that. And it's like four Christmases in one day is just fucking exhausting, right? It was always exhausting, but I just have this vague memory of as a little kid, I loved it. Like, I must have been over the fucking moon, right? Little kids love presents. That's their favorite thing about Christmas. And I don't know when I really didn't believe in Santa. Like, I was questioning it from a really young age. I think we all really questioned Santa from a really young age. But it was confirmed to me at Catholic primary school. That's right, I went to a Catholic primary school. It explains a lot, right? I went to a Catholic primary school, and I don't remember what age it was specifically, maybe 9, 10. We were just told outright, yeah, there's no Santa Claus. It's all about Jesus. You know, that's what this is. It's a Jesus thing, and yeah. And that really, I don't know if that led me to not caring anymore, because that magic of Santa was gone. Maybe that did. The whole Christmas mythology, you know, the Christmas canon, the Santa Claus canon, I suppose you can call it, sort of died. And just, I think that was at the age, you know, you're about to become a teenager where you just stop really giving a shit about Christmas. And then from there, it just became whatever. Like, by the time I entered my 20s, I was just like, And it's been like that, right? It's just been like, I don't really care, really. I don't want to celebrate this every year. It's just kind of stupid to me, you know? And it goes back into this year. That's just brings me to what I'm doing this year. Nothing. Nothing at all. I just don't care. Well, I guess it's not even like I don't care, right? Here are my real feelings about the holiday season. I don't want to celebrate something, particularly Christmas, right? The first 5 letters in Christmas are Christ. I don't believe in Christ. Well, I believe that there may have been a man named Jesus Christ, and, you know, I'm of the belief that, you know, like, Jesus, the stories of Jesus were just the stories of several people around the world in that vague, kind of nebulous period of time. You know, that's my belief of that, but I don't think that Jesus was the son of a god that I also don't believe in. So I don't want to really celebrate a holiday dedicated to his birth. It's number one. The whole religious aspect to me is just, I don't really give a shit, right? That's like the number one thing I don't care about. So Christmas, no. I mean, even from there, Hanukkah, of course, no. I don't. All of these religious holidays just mean nothing to me. And then the second big thing to me is, like, it's kind of like a charade, right? When you gather with the family or friends or whomever, you be especially nice to everybody that time of year. And it's just so fake. Really, it really is. And why not be nice all throughout the year? I know it's a groundbreaking fucking idea, right? I'm definitely spouting out these original ideas. Hey, be nice all the time, not just on December 25th. It's so insipid, right? It's like anyway, let's go to the next obvious point about Christmas. It's consumerism. Like, it's just, at this point, we can't just as a society stop observing December 25th, because it's a big important part of all of our economies, whether it's the global economy, specific country, local economies. They're really reliant on things like Christmas. They really are. Like, it's sometimes irritating because I go to Coles, Coles is like my local supermarket. I go there, I grab, you know, like, I almost said clothes shopping, food shopping, basically, right? I go there and it's just Christmas decorations from as early as mid-October. And it's like, could you fuck off? It's like, put them up like Christmas week at least, all these decorations, and they're constantly playing Christmas music, and it's just irritating and ugh. Like, fuck off with Christmas. And Christmas lights, I think, are the one thing I'm more or less indifferent to. Right? I used to love seeing the Christmas lights when I was a kid. They beautiful, all these beautiful lights up everywhere. Um, Obviously, that's what Christmas lights are. There used to be around the corner from where I used to live. There were these great big displays. This just near just these streets, just whole streets with like these crazy, beautiful, big, intricate Christmas displays that would really irritate me if I were a neighbor. But since I only lived kind of near there, it was great. It was cool. I loved it. Now I'm more or less indifferent to them. Like, I think they're pretty, and it's cool that they're only up at one time a year. That's the one thing with Christmas. I'm like, yeah, if we just let go of Christmas, no longer celebrated Christmas, we'd lose Christmas lights. And I mean, I know there are people that like to play pretend and, offended because of certain things like, oh, well, not just Christmas and whatever. We have a whole early episode of South Park about it. And the point of this little sidetrack is there's a bit in that episode of South Park that I think is absolutely hilarious where they can't even use Christmas lights anymore because it might offend people with epilepsy. And I think that that's fucking hilarious. If that's the reason we lose Christmas lights, I think I'd be more okay with it than just because it's a byproduct of Christmas going away. I don't know. If we had Christmas without Christmas lights, actually, no, I'd be more pissed off by that, come to think of it. But, look, in conclusion, I'm lukewarm on the holidays in general. If you're one to celebrate, of which it is a near statistical guarantee that you are, kudos. In fact, I fucking love that you can joyously observe these holidays. What something like Christmas does to the culture, raising spirits in general, is as beautiful as it is fascinating. But that's just my 2 cents. The input that nobody asked for. That's the deal with Christmas. But what's the deal with airplane food?
Kramer, I got your message. I haven't celebrated Festivus in years. What is your interest?
Well, just tell me everything, huh?
Many Christmases ago, I went to buy a doll for my son. I reached for the last one they had, but so did another man. As I rained blows upon him, I realized there had to be another way.
What happened to the doll?
It was destroyed. But out of that, a new holiday was born. A Festivus for the rest of us.
That must have been some kind of doll.
She was.
Festivus. Take fucking 6. Festivus, popularized in 1997 in an episode of Seinfeld entitled The Strike, is a secular holiday celebrated annually on December 23rd. And over the past 20 years, it has grown from a mocking response to Christmas commercialism into a fixture of popular culture, and eventually into an unironic holiday that is genuinely observed by some people. But did you know the Festivus has origins dating back 30 years before its appearance in Seinfeld? Dan O'Keefe, the writer of the popular episode of Seinfeld, detailed in his 2005 book, The Real Festivus, his family's celebration of Festivus. It was created by his father, author Daniel O'Keefe, and celebrated from as early as 1966. The original Festivus actually had very little relation to the December holiday season. Instead, it commemorated the anniversary of the first date between Daniel O'Keefe and his eventual wife, Deborah. The O'Keefe father, particularly enigmatic, had no set date for Festivus and would push annual Festivi, yes, that is the actual plural form, Festivi. He would push annual Festivi at seemingly random times a year, well into the 1980s, treating it as a time-honored family tradition. Now, despite the clear differences between the OG Festivus and its Seinfeld counterpart, there are some similarities, which we will discuss. Most of all, the peculiarity of the entire thing. As I said, Daniel O'Keefe was an enigmatic guy, to say the least. I would highly recommend reading the real Festivus for a deeper dive into its origins and into the mind of its originator. But now, we're going to talk about the Festivus that we all know and love.
Well, happy Festivus.
What is that? Is that the pole?
George, Festivus is your heritage. It is part of who you are.
That's why I hate it.
It's a big dinner Tuesday night at Frank's house. Everyone's invited.
George, you're forgetting how much Festivus has meant to us all. I brought one of the cassette tapes. Read that poem.
I can't read it. I need my glasses.
You don't need glasses, you're just weak. You're weak.
Leave him alone!
All right, George. It's time for the Festivus Feats of Strength.
No! Get it off! No feats of strength! Come on, Festivus!
We had some good times.
Season 9, Episode 10, The Strike. First broadcast on NBC, December 18th, 1997. After some convincing by fellow writers of the show, Dan O'Keefe wrote a romanticized version of Festivus into Seinfeld as an episode subplot, and it became what many consider to be among the best episodes of Seinfeld. And believe me, it is up there. In the episode, character Frank Costanza tells Kramer, we all know Kramer, of the Festivus origins. In short, it is an alternative to the commercialization of Christmas. The holiday officially begins on December 23 with the traditional Festivus dinner. During this dinner, the first of the holiday's practices occurs, the airing of grievances, in which each person at the table is given the opportunity to speak on the many ways that everybody else at the table has disappointed them throughout the preceding year. The airing of grievances actually existed, sans the name, in the original O'Keefe family holiday. Though said grievances were generalized, they weren't specific to others at the table. You sort of just went through what has disappointed you in that year in general. I do prefer the Seinfeld version. The version in Seinfeld is very, very funny. But we're going to keep going through what the Festivus tradition here, because following the meal is the feats of strength. Festivus does not end until the head of the household is pinned. In this case, a young George Costanza would have to pin his father every single year, which is just fucking hilarious. Like, if you watch Seinfeld and you're familiar with George Costanza, and especially his father Frank Costanza, that is just the funniest visual ever. George is my favorite character who ever existed, and I think Frank's up there too himself. As for Festivus Decorations, there is only one, an aluminum pole. It's completely unfurnished, just a sturdy fucking pole. This is for two reasons. As explained by Frank Costanza, the first reason is that it has an appealingly high strength to weight ratio. And number two, tinsel he finds to be distracting. In the original Festivus holiday, however, there was no pole. In its place was a clock, hung in a bag, nailed to a wall. I don't know the significance of this, and it was never actually explained to Daniel O'Keefe by his father. I really want to know what that's about, to be honest with you. Like, what would be the symbolism of putting a clock in a bag and nailing it to a wall? Right? The only response that Dan O'Keefe ever got from his father was, "That's not for you to know." Yet, he's made to celebrate this fucking holiday. Like, what? Well, it is indeed beginning to look a lot like Festivus. Let me tell you. Along with small groups that observe the holiday annually, Festivus has left an indelible mark on mainstream culture. Each year, there is a 5-kilometer race for charity that is held in Salem, Massachusetts. It's called Festivus 5K, and to date, it has raised $120,000 to help children with autism, and that's just fucking great. Along with that, we have Jim Doyle. He's the former Wisconsin governor. He famously observed Festivus in 2005, and his Festivus pole is now on display at the Wisconsin Historical Museum. I'm never going to go to the United States, and if I am, I don't think I'm going to be going to fucking Wisconsin. But let's just say I am. I'm definitely going to go check that out. There's a couple more things that Festivus is actually, there's a little more examples of Festivus in mainstream culture. So in 2012, a Festivus pole was actually erected alongside holiday displays from several religions. So nativity scene, whatever the Jewish equivalent would be. I'm not too familiar with Hanukkah, to be honest with you. But whatever the Jewish would be, there was one there. Like all of these religions, and there was also a Festivus pole. This was in Broward County, Florida, and it was on state property too. So the council themselves set this up, and I just think that is fucking brilliant. And perhaps most notably, U.S. Senator Rand Paul, we're familiar with Rand Paul, has participated in the Festivus airing of grievances via Twitter since like 2016, which doesn't seem like a long time, but it's 5 years, and that is how, like, in 2026, it'll be 10 years. We're getting there incrementally. Incrementally. Well, this has just been a brief overview of Festivus. I wasn't going to go too in-depth with it. This is my first time really compiling, a little educational thing for this podcast. Hopefully in the future they'll be a bit better, a bit more in-depth. But, really there's not a whole lot to be learning about Festivus. Like I said, this is just a brief overview. It's objectively the greatest of all holidays, and if you'd like to learn more about Festivus, you have access to the internet. There is the book, The Real Festivus, I mentioned. I did read a fair bit of it, and I didn't read all of it. I want to read all of it. I could only read the excerpts that I found online. But yeah, I really did pretty much cover everything important here, right? You do a like a report in school. You print off like shit from the internet, or like it's some kind of book, some encyclopedia, and you just go through your highlights, all the important bits. I pretty much covered all the highlighted bits here. There isn't a whole lot of meat on the bone, but it is a fucking tasty bone with quite the appealing strength to height ratio. Alright, we're gonna go to a song. This is a band that I saw a number of times as a teenager, Subject to Change. Like Floating Roach, they're another Brunswick-based punk band. So here's their best song, Brunswick. This one used to shake the fucking walls of the Bombay Rock. When we come back, we're going to talk about Ori and the Will of the Wisps, as well as my week where I fucking nailed my eye makeup, right? The eyeshadow just, Until then, here's Subject to Change. See you guys soon.
3056! Let me tell you about a place I know. Right forever comes Sydney Road. There's a pub on every second street. It's real nice cars to meet. St Kilda's fucking lame. Everybody there just looks the same. Drag come, they both shite. I know where I'll be headed tonight. Take me back down to Brunswick. The greatest place I've ever known. Take me back down to Brunswick. The place I like to call my home. Last 5 years, been of my time. Drinking, smoking, busting rhymes. Hanging down at the local shops. Drink trouble while dodging the cops. Go down there, Cornish mates. Clean cooks up the bedroom steaks. Or maybe a Jaeger shot. With all the cunts down at the spot. Take me back down to Brunswick. The greatest place I've ever known. Take me back down to Brunswick. The place I like to call my home.
It has, without a doubt, and most certainly, been a week. That's for sure. I've been playing the second Ori game. Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Why does that word even fucking exist? Ugh. I've been playing Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and I fucking love it. I mean, this really is about as great as a sequel can get. It's pretty much perfect in that regard, to be frank. We'll get into that. Yeah, I'll talk about it. But what else is up with me in this most eventful week? In Sydney, there's a new cluster of COVID cases. And that's not good. But also in Sydney, what is good, this is a horrible segue. PWA, they've got this Monday show going right now, the PWA Premiership. It's just a weekly hour, kind of twin block round robin tournament, I guess. It's very similar to New Japan's annual G1 Climax, to use a very specific example. And it's fantastic. Sports-based presentation, people. That is pro wrestling. Fuck this community theater shit. Like, I'll tell you this. I watched 5 wrestling shows this week. Dragon Gate and Stardom, they had their end-of-year shows. Of course, the PWA Premiership I just spoke about, WWE TLC, and AEW Dark. At the time of recording, Dynamite just hasn't started yet. But of those 5, guess which one didn't feel like it was even a fake sport? Guess which one felt like fake pro wrestling? If you picked WWE TLC, you are correct. I didn't intend on spending much, if any, time talking about wrestling this week, so let me just wrap up this spiel with one last point. There was a lot of tomfoolery, just dumb bullshit, during and especially after the show's main event, Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt. The reaction seems to be largely negative to what occurred after this supposed match, when Bray Wyatt was, not joking, burned alive by a clearly CGI flame. But they lost me well before that, because the object of the match is, oh my god, the object of the match was to set your opponent on fire. That's how you might win this grappling contest, by setting your opponent on fire. Now, I understand this isn't a new gimmick. It's called an Inferno match. So, just like all of those previous incarnations, you can fuck right off with that. This is just embarrassing. It's just fucking embarrassing. But look, that's the low point of the week. This week was high as fuck. I have improved so much at doing makeup. Apricot cream color corrector is my new god. Okay? Our savior covers that stubble. It covers up the blue-gray discoloration. It is a little stubborn, doesn't always agree with foundation, but she is my queen until lasers clear that face for good, and that's going to take a while. I'm still not great with contour. That's all I have to say on that front. I'm sure I'll have more to say in the future, but eyes, fuck yes. I have settled in to a pretty purple shadow look, and I think it is pretty damn great. I blend this kind of glittery charcoal into a lilac, and I have this pink blush that's really cheap, and it works way better as eyeshadow when it comes to, you know, just putting it on. It really has this good fading effect, I find. And when it all comes together, it looks so awesome, and I feel so great. So great, in fact, that I haven't left my house at all this week without my eyes done like this. And everything is fine. Everything has been fine. That isn't to say that I feel like I pass at all, but everything has been just fine. Normal. And that is all that I wanted. You can't see, but I'm smiling. Happy, Cassidy. And do you know what else makes me happy, Cassidy? Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I got it that time. Professional that I am, this bitch got some notes. So, this is spoilers for the first quarter-ish of the game. Let me just... Alright. So, oh my god. This game, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, I said it earlier, perfect sequel. This game is so much of an improvement from Ori and the Blind Forest, and Ori and the Blind Forest wasn't bad at all. There were things I didn't like about it, some things I was lukewarm on, but this game, oh my fucking god. Better than Streets of Rage 4 though? Is it my game of the year? We'll find out. The answer is yes. So, right off the bat, this game is beautiful. The first was so pretty. Ori and the Blind Forest, so pretty. This is even better. The lighting in this game, I think, is what makes all the difference. Just luminescent lighting, how it bounces off things. When you have God rays, I don't know what else to call them. When I've heard them described as God rays, you know, when you've got sort of the blinds open just a little and you have like a thin line of light shining through. They're in this game, and they're the fucking best things with lighting in games. It's so beautiful. How it works with the art style in this game, just the first game was so pretty. This just takes it up a notch. And so is the movement. The movement is up just a little. Ori moves with so much more finesse. It's just slightly more fluid. And as you get more abilities, as you just travel through the map, go through the game, get new abilities, moving just becomes so phenomenal. My favorite movement in any game might be Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. This rivals that. It's hard to explain. It's just the rhythm of pressing the buttons, right? Pressing the right shoulder button to do a sort of dodge forward, a leap forward. Then you jump again in midair. Then you hold the back trigger and you can sort of glide down. It's just, it all comes together so perfectly and fluidly. It's so fun. Quick saves are gone. Instead, you just respawn close to where you died. I mean, whatever. It does the same thing. Who cares? But fast travel, it's still there. I did not like it in the first game. I thought it was used as a crutch way too often. But the overall world design in Ori and the Will of the Wisps makes it more of a convenience whenever it's desired. And I didn't really desire it too much. Sometimes, yeah, it was convenient, like, I don't want to travel the whole map over again to get to this place, so I'll just use it. But I would always be like, oh, there's something I want to explore here. I haven't visited there. I think I've got the ability to explore this bit. So instead of warping all the way back, I'll go here and I'll just go around and get, you know, because that's another thing, the world design, right? That just leads me to that point. The first game had way too many dead ends, way too many one-way paths. It was the great level design, kind of not shitty, just lackluster overall world design. But Will of the Wisps, from the very beginning, there is such an emphasis on paths looping over and into itself again, like looping paths. I had the perfect words in my head just then and I completely fucked them up. You know what I mean. This is a genuine Metroidvania and I just want to explore this world. The first game, I didn't want to explore too much, right? If it was kind of a spike off the hidden path, off the beaten path, sorry, yeah, I'll go up the spike and come back. But way too many times, it would take, you'd go a big, long, winding path to get, like, some optional thing, and that was it. You just had to go all the way back. These paths will loop back in on themselves, or they'll take you somewhere completely different, like Super Metroid. And Super Metroid is the perfect fucking Metroidvania game. And this last point, before we get into some bigger spoilers, the combat. The absolute biggest disappointment in the first game, in my opinion, was the lackluster combat that pretty much amounted to this weird kind of ranged thing. It's really hard to explain. It really is. Unless you're playing it, it's hard to explain. But the point is, it worked. It just wasn't interesting, and it was rarely engaging. In Will of the Wisps, you have what is essentially a sword. It's a beautiful, beautiful visual when you swing it. Using it, like, practically, it reminds me of the Dream Nail from Hollow Knight. And anything that can remind me of Hollow Knight is only a fucking good thing. I loved Hollow Knight. Along the way, in this game, there's another similarity to Hollow Knight. You get what are called spirit shards. They're like equipable abilities, right? You sort of, like, some will be you take more damage, but you also deal more damage, right? So you can choose to equip that, or you can climb up walls where, you don't have to jump up the walls. You can just, stick to them and climb up them. I have that one equipped because that one's really helpful. As well as that, right, you get more abilities, just regular abilities. One of my favorites is this. It's like this hammer, I guess, you swing, and it does so much damage. It'll stun enemies just for a second, so those harder enemies are a lot easier to take down. And that's the thing. There can be more interesting enemies in this game. In the first, like, it amounted to getting out of the way and pressing the button a couple of times. Your ranged thing will do all the work. There was tactfulness to it, I guess, but it wasn't very fun. The combat in Ori and the Will of the Wisps is genuinely great. It's fun to just engage in combat in this game, and you cannot say that about the first game. Now, we're going to get into some not huge major story spoilers. I'm not going to spoil the ending or anything like that, but we're going to get into spoilers from here. I'm not going to go too far in. Like I said, it's about a quarter-ish. So, the game begins with Ori and a little cute baby owl, right? Long story short, this owl is the child of the big bad in the first game. And for the first little while, you play as the owl, with Ori riding on its back, but you're suddenly separated by a storm. At this point, you've been endeared to this owl, right? You love this owl, and you need to find this owl. I know I needed to find this owl. And that's where the game begins. You explore, you unlock new abilities, you fight some bosses, you visit what I guess was the first dungeon in the game, the Wellspring. Very interesting level. There's awesome rotating level design and shit. You go through that dungeon, and you clear up the waters. Now you can swim through clear water without it being poisoned, so you can swim through it and get to another part of the map, because that's what a Metroidvania is, really, right? You do something that'll change the level, you can keep exploring, or you'll unlock some ability. More often it's the ability, and you can explore the level, you can explore more of the world, I should say. So, eventually, not too far after this, you find the owl. I'm thinking this is way earlier than I expected. And it's in a really dark, silent part of the world. And we play as the owl again, with Ori riding on the back. The game changes again, until suddenly the owl is killed. We search for the owl for a few hours, and it's tragically killed by this mutant bird thing. Well, I guess that's the antagonist, right? So be it then. We're going to avenge this owl. And then something beautiful, amazing happens, right? Something that separates Ori and the Will of the Wisps from Ori and the Blind Forest. The biggest change, the best change in the entire fucking game. Even better than the combat. In the four corners of the map, places that you have not yet explored, little icons appear. In whichever order you so desire, you travel to these places and obtain a MacGuffin, basically. It's a video game. Ori and the Will of the Wisps just begins proper. From here, the game is Hollow Knight, it is Super Metroid, it is whatever classic Metroidvania comes to mind. Moreover, it is a masterpiece. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is one of the best video games that I have played in my entire life. Game of the year. Streets of Rage 4 can have number 2. Go play Ori. Both games. Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisps. You can play them on PC. I'm pretty sure they're on PC. Yeah, they're on PC. They're on Xbox One. I would assume Xbox One X. I played them on the Nintendo Switch. They're just as good as on the Nintendo Switch, I guess. The resolution's probably lower, but, I mean, if something not being in 4K is the biggest problem in your life, I fucking envy you. Go play Ori. And that's it for this week. And this year, really. Next episode will actually be on New Year's Day. So, have a good New Year's. I think, on that episode, I'm gonna review the year that was. Maybe give some 2021 predictions? Resolutions, maybe? I don't know. We'll see. Happy holidays, friends. And for the rest of us, a very happy Festivus. Thanks for listening. Bye.
street. Sun went home. The people of the people is as years ever seen.
Happy Festivus! George, this is a surprise. Who's the suit?
Yo, Dad, this is my boss, Mr. Kruger.
Have you seen the pole, Cougar?
Yeah, he doesn't need to see the pole. Dad.
He's going to see it.
Happy Festivus! Humma.
You have time to go home. What are you doing here?
Embracing my roots.
They nailed you on the 20 G's?
Busted cold.
It's made from aluminum. Very high strength to weight ratio.
I find your belief system fascinating.
Hey! Happy Festivus, everyone!
Hello again, Miss Bennett.
What are you doing here?
Damnedest thing. Me and Charlie were calling to ask you out, and we got this bagel place.
I told them I was just about to see you. It's a Festivus miracle!
Dinner's ready.
Let's begin.
Dr. Van Nostrand.
That's right.
Welcome, newcomers. The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're gonna hear about it. You, Kruger, my son tells me your company stinks.
Oh, God.
Quiet, you'll get yours in a minute. Kruger, you couldn't smooth a silk sheet if you had a hot date with a babe. I lost my train of thought.
Jerry,
Gwen, how did you know I was here?
Kramer told me.
Another Festivus miracle!
I guess this is the ugly girl I've been hearing about.
Hey, I was in a schwitz for 6 hours. Give me a break.
Gwen, wait! Ah! Bad lighting on the porch.
Hey, how did my horse do?
He had to be shot.
And now, as Festivus rolls on, we come to the feats of strength.
Not the feats of strength.
This year, the honor goes to Mr. Kramer.
Oh, gee, Frank, I'm sorry. I gotta go. I have to work a double shift at H&H.
I thought you were on strike.
Yeah, well, I caved. I mean, I really had to use their bathroom. Frank, no offense, but this holiday's a little out there.
Kramer, you can't go. Who's gonna do the feats of strength?
How about George?
Good thinking, Cougar. Until you pin me, George, Festivus is not over.
Oh, please, somebody stop this.
Let's rumble!
I think you can take him, Georgie.
Hey, come on, be sensible.
Stop crying and fight your father.
Ow! Oh, I got
This is the best Festivus ever!